which, you know, who doesn't see that one coming? But basically what the thing started about is this video that has been put out by the EU, which is trying to get women more involved, or girls in the EU more involved with STEM areas. STEM stands for science, engineering, technology, and mathematics. And so points to them for trying to get people, trying to get women to be more interested, but the video is confusing, for one. I'm not really sure what their point is, and for two, it's really insulting, because the point that I take away from it is that women should only be involved in science if they're going to be making makeup and glitter, apparently. But anyway, so that's really not where this conversation ended up going. So there are a couple people who were making comments on it, and the first comment that was made, that wasn't me, was that the person commenting didn't understand why we as a society are focusing so much on getting women and girls involved in STEM fields. She thinks that we should focus more on the traditional female fields of like arts and crafts, and so she doesn't understand why we're not getting boys interested in sewing or basket weaving or painting and sculpting, to which I replied, we don't have a shortage of men who are fashion designers and who are, you know, doing artistic things. There is no shortage of male artists. There is, however, an alarming shortage of female scientists, especially in the more technical science fields, such as engineering and mathematics and things like that. So then the next person who commented said that the first person who commented had a valid point, and that by focusing on women in the scientific fields, in the STEM fields, we're actually devaluing the work that women do in a traditional setting in their homes. Which is where I jumped in and got really angry. Because before we go any further, I don't have anything against artists. I don't have anything against people who stay at home with their children. I don't have anything against people who work from their homes. I don't have a problem with any of this. I have a problem with A, it being stereotyped as women's work and even called that, and B, I have a problem with the underlying argument that seems to be that the only real work women should be doing or can do, like physically are capable of doing, is childbearing and working at home. That really takes me off, which of course is kind of the point of the STEM initiative, which is to teach women and girls that they can do math and science and engineering and technology jobs. Which I think there are more than enough examples of out there in the real world to prove that this is a viable argument. So anyway, the argument degrades because I'm a poor arguer. And basically what it came down to is one of the other people in the conversation basically telling me that I am anti-feminist because I want girls to get involved in STEM fields, and that I am somehow killing their feminine side by nurturing an interest in STEM, which I am confused by, because I don't see how being a woman and being involved in a scientific field makes you any less feminine than being a woman who is involved in art, for example. And I'm wondering if maybe I'm not missing something. I mean, maybe there's an underlying thing I'm not hearing, but every time this person kept trying to convince me that, well, basically I was in the wrong the whole argument because I was arguing for STEM and for STEM initiatives, this person kept trying to convince me that my interest in pushing STEM on females actually makes them less female, and that somehow me, or somehow women being involved in STEM fields devalues the work women do at home. So I don't see how I don't see how those two correspond. And then of course there was the typical nonsense of, oh, you're a feminazi and radical feminism and blah blah blah. And okay, so don't get me wrong, I do fly off the handle. I will completely admit to that. But I don't see how I was flying off the handle there, and I don't see how just encouraging people, women, to get involved in scientific fields, I don't see how that's radical feminism. But then again, I am a woman involved in a scientific field, and I don't feel that I am any less feminine than my friend who cooks for a living. Don't get me wrong, she's a hell of a cook, and she can outcook me any day, but I don't see how cooking makes her more feminine and how my work in archaeology makes me less feminine. You see what I'm saying? And I don't see how simply being involved in a scientific field makes you more masculine, especially since for a very long time being seen as a nerd, someone who was involved in one of the STEM fields as a man, that was a very non-masculine trait to have. You know, for a long time being masculine meant, you know, you were a bodybuilder, or you played sports, or you ran businesses, or you did something physical, and you did something that was like a conquering thing. You conquered things, and that made you man. That made you a man. So to have this argument that being a woman involved in a STEM field somehow makes me less of a woman seems weird to me, because it wasn't, what, 50 years ago, if you were a man involved in a STEM field, you were considered less masculine as well? So I don't understand where the cutoff happened, and I don't understand how I am anti-feminist by wanting to encourage women and girls to get into STEM fields more heavily than they already are. And I don't understand how the only way to be feminine, apparently according to these two people, is to either be involved in the arts or to stay at home and raise children and take care of the house and, quote, support the men with their live at work lifestyle. So apparently the only way that I can really truly be feminine is to stay at home, pop out babies, and make sure that my husband is able to work his ass off at work and never have a day's peace, because that makes him manly, and that will make me womanly. And I think that's a crock of shit. So discuss this amongst yourselves. I'm not going to monitor the comments. If you're a raging asshole, everyone will see that you're a raging asshole, and that's kind of how I take that. I don't tend to delete things unless you're being, you know, really obnoxious, and I think you know who you are. But anyway, do discuss it, because again, it might be something that I'm just missing. I may be missing a major argument, or I may be misunderstanding an argument, but I don't see how girls in STEM either kill their feminine side or devalues the work that women do in the home. So anyway, that's Archie, and I will see you guys later.